with a cybernetic suit that allows him to, do superhuman stuff like punch and knock out people and shoot electric pulses out of your hands. Whatever. I can look past it. And it basically follows, each episode follows a different ruin. So like I said, the first episode follows Mount Fuji and its ruins on the meat there. And each of the 6 episodes showcase a different kind of ruin, a different kind of civilization, a different kind of relic that every country is trying to get to. And how the Spriggan, our main character, protects it. And of course, like classic anime fashion, he always, at the end of each episode, he wins. Basically, he either seals or destroys the artifact that every country is going after. I'll get to this later, but the episodes themselves aren't really intertwined with each other. Like, the characters will come and go very often, and things that happen in one episode might not necessarily affect the episodes that happen afterwards, but it's more like one episode is one ruin. Now back to this, to go more deeper into this one episode is one ruin format. I'm guessing the reason why Netflix chose to do a 40-minute episode and do 6 of them is to condense arcs. When an anime normally airs, unless it's like a special case, like a slice of life genre, there's things called arcs, which contain like one major plot point. Normally in shonen anime, it's like a major villain pops up, but in this case, it's one ruin pops up. But then they chose to condense a 2-3 episode arc that's in normal anime into one 40-minute episode. From a viewer perspective, if you're trying to binge the show, 40 minutes is pretty good. It's a nice condensed arc. You have a beginning, middle, end. You have stakes in each episode, and honestly, you could watch each episode individually and have like weeks-long breaks, and you'll still have like, it's still continuity. You don't have any cliffhanger points. You can watch the next episode if you want to. It's clean and cut. But then from Netflix perspective, I have no idea why they chose this format, because for them it's better for episodes to end on cliffhangers, so viewers are more interactive and they go and click the next episode, click the next episode, click the next episode. But I guess maybe that's how they did it in the manga. Maybe that's how Netflix wanted to create the show. Whatever. Now, we got past the synopsis and the episodes. I'll go now into more the animation. Like I said, the main character is entirely out of 3D. I'm pretty sure there's not a single scene where he's drawn in 2D. Now that's not to say that's bad. If you see my Vivi video, you know that I bashed 3D in anime quite a lot. But in this case, I'm pretty sure, like, I was completely satisfied with the 3D done in Spriggan. I mean, this is done by David Productions, known for doing JoJo and Fate. And if you've seen any of the newer Fate movies, you know that they're really good at 3D. And honestly, there was not a single time where I thought the animation was off. Not a single scene where I thought, oh, this scene could have used a bit more money, a bit more time. Everything was fluid. All the fight scenes were as best as they could do. If there was any problems with the fight scene, it's probably just the story or like the way angles works, or like purely the animation itself was completely fine. And there was no mistakes, no imperfections. It was good, honestly. It was good. Now, I'm guessing the reason why they chose 3D is because of this reason. They didn't want to have any frame drops, wonky scenes, or like inconsistencies in Spriggan, the main character's design. See, because he has a lot of particle effects and he has a lot of punching scenes. He has to be very agilic. I get it. I totally understand. But then the problem I have is the backgrounds and some other characters are drawn in 2D. Now that's more familiar to my eyes, but I'm not saying that 3D is bad. It's just the main problem I have with 3D in anime is the dichotomy between the 3D characters and the 2D characters and the 2D background. The reason why I hate 3D in anime, like I said in my Vivi video, is because there's too much contrast between the two art styles. It just doesn't really match together unless you really tone down each aspect, either whether it's 2D or 3D. Now, the 2D art style within Spriggan is what you expect from any normal anime. There's not much depth in each character, but then that's just because it's drawn in 2D, like what you expect. It's an anime, like what you expect. Like, you're not expecting hyper realistic details between the background and the foreground. I mean, they're all done in one art style to look consistent, and so you get used to the moving foreground and the still background, and you just go like, oh, okay, that's a moving character and that's a 2D background. It totally makes sense. With 3D, on the other hand, art styles, it's noticeable. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's noticeable. And in this case, 2D background and 3D foreground, you have no, like, it's just the total art styles change. It could be still like nothing can be moving, but you can still tell which is the foreground, which is the background. I would have preferred if they stuck to one art style in characters. I loved the backgrounds that they did. I feel like if they made even the backgrounds into 3D, that would just look whack. Love the camera work they did with the 2D environment that they created, and honestly, I would have liked to see more characters like completely turned into 3D to like kind of show like 3D characters in a 2D background, so your brain doesn't have to process which is moving or not, and it doesn't seem like you wasted budget and you just didn't animate anything and everything still. That's the biggest problem I have with Spriggan, is that some characters are drawn in 2D, but some characters are drawn in 3D, and it just doesn't really mix well, especially if the two interact with each other. It just doesn't fit well. I just had to say that. Just pick a point. Either make the 3Ds look like 2D, or make the 2Ds look like 3D, or turn the entire cast into one style. I just had to put that out there. It's very noticeable, but hopefully as the skill and abilities and technology of these animators grow, I assume that it will be fixed. It definitely wasn't one of the best instances of 3D I've ever seen in anime, especially compared to X-Arm, if you know what that is. That also had 2D and 3D mixed. It was way better than that. You could notice it, but honestly fine. Based on what I've finished, it doesn't seem like Spriggan's story finished. It didn't really have an ending. It just sort of ended like any episode would have ended. So I'm expecting more, and I would love to see more, but so far I haven't heard anything from Netflix or David Productions. Might go check out the manga, maybe, but I enjoyed Spriggan. Solid like 7-8 out of 10. It was pretty good.